Hi everyone, welcome back. So today's topic is we're going to look at Python tuples, which is an immutable data type of Python. Okay, so we're going to look at this immutable word. And the topics that we're going to cover is how to create tuples. And then we're going to understand the elements of tuples having different data types. And then we will look at the indexing in tuples. Okay, how to do indexing. And then the tuple traverser, and then with the plus operator and with the multiplication operator, we're going to perform some operations on tuples. And the second last is very interesting, that is having list as an element in tuple. Now this is something that is a bit interesting. Okay, and then at the last we're going to look at the tuple comparisons. So one by one we'll look at this. So we will start with our coding. Okay, so to declare a tuple, we just require a variable name and the rounded brackets. That's it. So this will define a tuple A. The name of the tuple is A, and this is an empty tuple. Okay. Another way I can do is I can have the variable t and with the function that is tuple. Okay, this is the two ways you can have an empty tuple. So if I try to print this, you can see if I try to print A and if I try to print T, and you can see the output, we will have two empty tuples. This is A tuple, this is the T tuple, the name of the variables, the name of the tuples. Okay, so this is how you can define an empty tuples. Now understand the tuples are immutable. So whatever you want to have the elements in a tuple, okay, that will be before the execution of the program. So I can have something like 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then if I just try to print A, so these are the elements in tuple that are 4 numbers, basically 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so tuples, okay, we can have n number of we can have n number of elements in the tuples, and we can have different data types also. Before going ahead, before I show you that, understand that once you define a tuple like this, okay, like A is equal to 1, so this does not make this as a tuple. Okay, this like it's just a rounded brackets that we are using, and it simply will define A as an integer variable. If you want to see, you can just see over here. Okay, we will have the variable A, that's the value of the variable A. So if you want this, if there is only one item in the tuple, if there is only one item, so make sure you give a comma, that is a separator. Now this will actually define a tuple. This will actually make this as a tuple. So if you see the output for this now we will get a tuple. You can see. Okay, so if there is only one element, make sure you give it this as a comma, as an integer number or any number. Make sure that you give a comma after that. Then this will actually make this as a tuple. Okay. Okay, now let us have some different data types. Like if this is a number, then I can have, this is a floating number. Okay, and also I can have a nested tuples. Okay, now this is a nested tuple. Okay, a tuple inside another tuple. So this is the nested tuple, and then I can print the tuple. Now you can see the output for this is it will display as what you can see in the code, right? So we can have different data types. We can also have over here like maybe Linux. Now this is a string data type, isn't it? And if I try to print this, and here it is, right? So these are like different data types. We can store it in a tuple. Understand that we cannot add or delete elements from a tuple. Okay, this is very important point because tuples are immutable. Okay, now to prove this point, okay, let us first understand the indexing. Okay, now just like we have indexing in string or and in list, the same principle follows out here. So this like is the 0th index, this is the 1, and this is the 2 index, and this is the 3 index value. So these are the index value of these elements. Okay, so it's the same principle. So if you're not aware of index, how indexing works, so I would suggest you go to my previous videos where I have shown you how indexing works in strings and in list, and then come back to this video. So if I have to access this element, that is a nested tuple. So this is 0 index, 1, and this is 2. So simply I can write, okay, that is A of 2. Okay, this is how to access the elements from a tuple, and this is how to use the index value. So I'll just delete this one. Now you can see the output of this program. We will have that nested tuple, isn't it? This is what we had over here. Okay, so this is how you can do it. I'll just adjust these windows for you to understand. Okay, let us keep it this way, and this I'll keep it over here. Okay, that is fine. Okay, so now if I want to have this Linux, so I simply have to give the index value as 3, and if you see the output, you can see the output over here, that is Linux, isn't it? Okay, this is how you can have the index value. We can also use, this is the forward indexing that I used. We can also use the backward indexing. So this is -1, this is -2, -3, and -4. So if I use -4, so you can see the output for this, it will be 1, because this is by the backward indexing rule, this is -4. So -4, I can access it. Okay, now the major difference that I said between the list and tuple, now there is a, it looks very similar, right? But the major difference that we have is tuple is immutable. So I cannot do anything like, if I say, you know, a of 1 is equal to 4. Okay, I try to do this, okay, and it will throw an error. That is the support assignment operator. We cannot assign anything. We cannot change these values. Okay, we cannot change the value at index 1, that is 2.0. We cannot change that to 4. That cannot happen. So whatever we define it before the program starts running. Okay, so this does not work. Just like in strings, you know, the same principle follows for strings, because even strings are immutable. So understand that this thing will never work. Okay, then, you know, okay, one more thing I just forgot is how to use the tuple function. If I give something, this tuple function, that is a constructor actually, and if I give a string like maybe, you know, anything like a name like Linux, okay, and if I try to print the tuple, let us see the output for this. What will happen is it will take a sequence. The tuple function actually takes a sequence of characters, or you can also have a sequence in any form, and you can see the output over here. That is, every character will be a separate element in the tuple. Okay, this is how you can use. In fact, you can also give a list and have a list of items, because even list is a sequence. And if you run this and see the output, this will be now a tuple where the sequence 1, 2, 3, 4 has been defined in tuple. So these are the elements of the tuple now. So that it takes a list, it can take a string, so any sequence it can take. Okay, so this is how you can use the tuple function basically. And then, okay, how to do the, you know, the traverser. For example, if I define a list and I have, okay, let's just go back. Let us just go back, and I'll have this list, and okay, over here. So I already have these elements. Now I'll simply use a for loop for I in A. If I do that and I simply say I, so you can understand this is the same thing that we do it for strings, and you can see the output. The same traverser, we use the same technique for the list, and the same technique we will use for the tuple. So these are the elements. There's first element, second, this is third, and this is fourth. You can see the output over here. Okay, so this is how you can one by one you can access the element. Also you can do is using the indexing. Now this is another way, that is range, and I will use the length function of A. So basically this will the length will be 4, because there are 4 items in this list. This is the first item, this is the second item, this is the third and fourth. So length will be 4, and then what I will do is I can simply use the tuple A of I. Now over here, this is the range function. So this will generate a list of 0 to 3. So I will have 0, 1, 2, 3. And then using that index value 0, I will access the individual elements. So this is another way by which you can do it. You can see the same output over here, but this was, I was directly accessing the elements from the tuple, and this I have done it with the help of index. Okay, so this is how you can do the tuple traverser, and then we can perform some operations using the plus and the into operator. For example, if I have a tuple like simple as this, and I have another tuple t2 and 1 comma 3, so I can have a third tuple, that is t3 is equal to t plus t2. So this can be done. Okay, and if I try to print t3, this is the same principle that is used in list, and the same principle follows over here. You can see this was the first tuple and this was the second. Now they became one, so that is t3, isn't it? And then we can also have the into operator. If I say t into 4, so this is t, that is 1 comma 2, so it will be, we will have this 4 times in the tuple, and that will be t3. So you can see the output over here. So that is 1, this is 2, this is 3, and this is 4. So this is how you can use the plus operator and the into operator. It's quite simple to understand. The same principle that we had in list, the same rule follows over here. Okay, now the very interesting thing that I wanted to show you is, what if I have a tuple and I have an element that is a list. Okay, now understand, we cannot change the elements of the tuples as per the rule, but list is a mutable data type, right? We can add elements into a list, we can change the values of the list, everything we can perform. So what if I try to change the value of, for example, if I say t of the index value of this is 0, 1 and 2. Okay, 0, 1 and 2. So if I do this, okay, and if I try to do something like dot append, okay, and 4, so what will happen? Let us print the tuple. Let us print the tuple, and you can see that we can add the elements into the list. So this was 1 and 2, and now you can see we have add one more element into the list and not into the tuple. So yes, tuples are immutable, but if we have a list as an element, so we can perform that operations in that list as per the rules. We can add, we can delete, right? Every operation we can perform onto this. Okay, for example, if I do something like this, t of 2, okay, and t of 2, if I say, and if I simply use t of 2 dot, okay, and if I say remove, okay, remove, okay, and I say remove, that is remove 1, okay, and if I run this, and you can see the output, the element 1 has been removed from the list. Here is the output. Okay, so this is possible. Okay, you can change the element if the element is a list, so you can change the values. We can perform the operations on that particular element of the tuple, but tuple itself doesn't change, it will never change, understand it. So we cannot delete we don't have any function like append for tuples, because we cannot change the item. So whatever we define, it will remain as it is, unless and until we have element as a list into it. That list we can change. Okay, so this is how we can perform the operations onto a list which is an element of the tuple. So you can use this technique out here. Okay, and at the last we are going to see at the tuple comparison. So for example, if I have a t1 as maybe 1 comma 2, and I have t2, okay, that is 3 comma 4. If I try to compare, if I say if t1 is greater than t2, okay, then I will print t1, okay, I'll print t1, and else I will print t2. So simple. So what happens over here, it always starts with the first element. Okay, understand. So if first element is greater than this, so this condition will get satisfied. But if you see the first element is 1 and this is 3, so the condition will not get satisfied. It will go false, and then it will come to the else part. So if you run this code, you can see the output, that is 3 comma 4. So it printed the T2 tuple, isn't it? So for what if they are equal? What if they are equal? And in that case, also we'll get the output is 3 comma 4. This is because if this is equal, both are equal, then it goes and check the next element, that is 2 is less than 4, and still it will print the tuple, that is T2. What if I make this as 5? So these two are equal, but this is greater than 4. Now the condition should get satisfied. So you can see the output, that is 3 comma 5, right? That is the first tuple. I can have any number of elements, okay? It will not matter unless and until it is getting compared with the second element. If you see the output for this, we will have, that is tuple T1. Even if there are more characters over here, and okay, I will have some more characters over here. I mean the more elements, and I will remove these 2 elements. Okay, now let us see the output. And you can see it is still giving T1 as the bigger tuple, because this is 2 elements are equal. So it compared the second element, that is 5 is greater than 4, and so this condition went true and it printed T1. So it will not matter how many elements you have in the tuples. It just goes by the position wise it compares. Okay, if this is equal, then it goes for the next position, then it will compare the position. Okay, and make sure you don't have any other data type. If I have something like this, okay, and if I try to compare, okay, then we will have an error. So this is not possible because this is a number and this is a string, so we cannot compare number with strings, isn't it? So this is how you can compare tuples. It is very easy to understand. Okay, so in my next tutorial I'm going to take some of the functions of tuples, and we will do some programs related to that. Okay, so bye for now.